Golly, I love this team, man. I love this team. We're going to be bringing home some Pop-Tarts today on Locked On Cyclones.
You are Locked On Cyclones, your daily podcast on the Iowa State Cyclones, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On Cyclones, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thank you for making this your first listen or watch of the day. And to those of you who do listen or watch every single day, shout out to you. Little round of applause. Much appreciated, more than you know. And you guys are the ones that make the world go round. So I have to acknowledge that for sure. Today, we're going to be talking about some media around the Pop-Tart Bowl that Iowa State did on Tuesday, coaches, players, things of that nature. Then we'll dive into why should you be a Cyclone? Why should you come play for Iowa State? That was talked about around some transfer portal topics there. And then finally, my initial thoughts on the Pop-Tart Bowl as we are now 10 days away from the big game. Today's episode is brought to you by the College Football Playoffs. The College Football Playoff is here, and you don't want to miss a moment of action. The College Football Playoff presented by Allstate begins with 4 first-round games, December 20th and 21st on ESPN, ABC, TNT, and Max. Let's dive right into this. These media quotes, some people love them, some people hate them. I'm in the boat of this gives us a little bit of an inside look to kind of how, the team thinks, operates, conducts itself. You're going to hear a lot of people that say, well, these are all very manufactured answers. They're all media trained. And while, there are some guys out there, not for the Cyclones necessarily, but just in the world of sport that aren't as media trained, and they're certainly entertaining would be a word for them. They kind of make these guys look like different, obviously, I guess is a word to use. I don't think that draws away from or negates from what I have here. Some of these quotes, it's just, even when you're media trained, that you still say different things. You could ask all 20, guys in a line that are media trained the same question, and you're going to get probably 20 different answers, maybe different renditions of the same answer. But either way, it still is an insight into not only the team as a whole, but each player's individual mindset on the game. Now, there were 3 interviews of players that I personally would like to point out. And let's just go ahead and start with the man that runs the show, Rocco Becht. Interviewed. These are all like 2 to 30-minute clips, maybe a minute 20 in there. So I don't have a ton of quotes for you guys. I'm going to talk about what I think they mean, though, for sure. Rocco, one of the first things that was asked is like, why does this game matter? Why does this matter to the Cyclones? And basically what he said was, we got stuff to prove yet, my friend. We have things that are left out on the table. And then he did mention, that Big 12 game wasn't us. We need to be better prepared, have a better mentality, and a better precision to detail. That's what he said. And I 100% agree. After watching the Big 12 game live, Big 12 championship game live, I very much agree with that statement. And I love that mentality coming from the top down. And we'll get more into Rocco as a leader here coming up. But, he's kind of the head of this whole operation. And whether or not you think the quarterback should be the head of the operation isn't really what this is about. Like, it's just kind of a fact. Most quarterbacks are a major leadership pillar in a football locker room. Like, that's literally just the truth. So Rocco, being one of those guys, being almost the guy, having the mentality and the mindset of, look, we're going to go out there and we're going to prove this. We have still, we have games yet to play. We have, things yet to prove. We're going for 11 wins. We need to put our A game out there, play our best ball, and, we'll take it from there. And I love that. I really love that approach to it. It's not a throwaway game for the Cyclones. It's not like we are bitter after losing the Big 12 championship game. The way this team thinks, the way this team has a mindset towards football as a whole, but, game to game, week to week, is unbelievable. And I think it starts from within. Rocco then goes on to say, I want to win this for the seniors. I mean, what more they're playing for each other. Like, that is the epitome of a team that is going to go far. Maybe not obviously this year, didn't win the Big 12 championship, not in the playoffs. Okay. Some might consider that a failed season. Probably if you're like Alabama, which didn't make playoffs this year, but Georgia, like these top tier programs, they have higher expectations. It's like when the Patriots went on their dynasty run, or the Chiefs now, like the season doesn't really start till November. The goal is it's a Super Bowl or bust. They have extremely high expectations. And I'm not saying that the Cyclones went into this year expecting to win 2 or 3 games. No, I'm not saying that. But it is, one of those things where playing from within, I guess, is just going to take them to new heights that I'm excited to see. And then, kind of on that momentum for next year, that's exactly what he mentioned, was this game getting to that 11-win mark is going to be huge for the team moving forward, right? And how much impact will it have on next year's team to get to that, not only the 10 wins for this year, but the 11th win to win the bowl game. I agree 100%. I'm going to leave it there. The last one here, though, is really interesting. And I personally agree with Rocco here. So basically 4 for 4 on Rocco and I being the same mindset. Does that mean I could be a starter in the Big 12 at quarterback? We'll leave that up to you. They asked him, what about, both sides playing everyone in this game? What is it like? What do you think of that? Basically, long story short, he says, well, that's how it should be. Bang. That you just don't see that anymore. And I love that Miami's doing the same thing. Obviously, I am not locked on Hurricanes. If you haven't watched that'd be a great place to go to get some more breakdown on this game from a different perspective, because I'll admit sometimes I may be a little biased. But from the Iowa State side of things, this is just an indicator of the culture. There is no opting out. We're finishing the season strong. We are a team. If you're opting out, then I guess you're not a part of the team. That's kind of how I view it personally. I love that they are very much, hey, we're going to finish this season strong. Then Jontez Williams was asked a few questions about Miami's offense. He said they're explosive. They got great players. And then, kind of on the challenge of that game, he said it's a great opportunity to show what we've got. Miami, obviously, the number one total and scoring offense on the year. So very good at offense. And Jontez Williams, obviously, on defense. So great opportunity for him to show kind of what he's capable of. And then asked about what he saw on film. He said, hey, they got great instincts. I love how smart. And he said the quarterback, but he means Cam Ward, is. And he said he fits some balls into tight windows, and it's amazing when he completes them. Yeah, okay, maybe you're going to read this, and it's like, that is just corporate jargon. That is literally just words. He's saying Cam Ward is good, obviously. I read this, I hear this come out of his mouth, and I say this. I'm not speaking for Williams here. I'm speaking as myself, as Nick Marvitz, host of Locked On Cyclones, at Nick Marv on Twitter or Instagram or wherever you'd like to reach out if you disagree with me here. He's saying that it's amazing when he completes them, yeah, but he's not going to be completing very many against us. We're dogs, okay? It is some tight windows, risky throws. It's amazing when he's able to get them done. But us is probably not going to happen, okay? And that's how I took that quote. Obviously, that's not really how he said it, but that is how it came across to me of like, hey, if he's able to do it, great. I don't expect that in the Pop-Tart Bowl. So love that as well. And then Jalen Knoll, this is what I was talking about with Rocco. He just goes on to say that, Rocco is a leader amongst leaders. Stuck around to talk to every player after the loss in Arlington. That just speaks bounds to the amount of dedication he has to this team. And Jalen made sure to be like, hey, that guy is our dude, 100%. And I actually think that's really, really cool. Jalen Knoll, one of the best receivers in the nation, completely like, hey, our quarterback is our guy. We play through Rocco. And then asked about him playing down in Florida, close to home. Jalen was like, hey, it's kind of the same thing as West Virginia. Like, we want to get this one for him. We want to battle, play our best ball, get him a win. Like, they are playing together, which is just awesome. Just literally the best. End of story. Then also, when asked about what was the biggest first that you're like the most proud of this year, and what first would you like to achieve moving forward, felt like a little bit of a leading question, kind of. But either way, Jalen said proud of 10 wins and want to get to 11. Not those words, but you know what I mean. And couldn't agree more. How about 11? Huh? We got to 10. We got to double digits. First time in school history. Very special team out there. Let's push it one further. Let's elevate the standard and make this a different level of football program in the country. Couldn't agree anymore. And love what all these players had to say. I love it. And yes, some of it is media training. It comes across very like just pump out answers. But either way, I can see the little nuggets in here. I can see the way this team thinks, the way that they operate. It's very, very promising moving forward. And honestly, I couldn't be more proud to be a Cyclone than I am in this moment. Just as a lot of players potentially looking to play for the Cyclones coming, in the next few years with this new transfer portal. Why would you want to play for the Cyclones, though? That is the question. It will be answered right after this. It's that time of year. The college football playoff is back. And with the newly expanded 12-team format, it's guaranteed to be bigger and better than ever, bringing you all the hard-hitting and high-flying excitement that you love. TNT sports coverage of the college football playoff begins December 21st, starting with the college football playoff kickoff show presented by AT&T at 11 a.m. Eastern. Leading into our first matchup, the Southern Methodist University Mustangs battling the Penn State Nittany Lions at noon. Then the Clemson Tigers look to upset the Texas Longhorns in a showdown at 4 p.m. Eastern. Don't miss a moment of the action. Watch the college football playoff presented by Allstate live on TNT, True TV, TBS, and Max. So, yes, Iowa State, one of the best schools in the entire world, galaxy, solar system, however far out you want to go, Iowa State stands amongst the best. Honestly, on the top of that mountain for sure. Coming from the host of Locked On Cyclones, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, Nick Marv is kind of how I'm being referred to within the conference here, of Locked On host. So I'll adopt that. That's my Twitter handle down there as well. So makes sense. But the question is why? Why would you want to come play for one of the best schools in the history of existence of human mankind? Well, when you lay it out like that, it's like, well, it's kind of a no-brainer, right? Well, Chase Sowell seems to agree. And I'm going to break this down because this is one guy that we have, kind of a lot of nuggets here. I'm kind of impressed. Love the guy already. So we've talked about him. If you've been with the show, we've talked about the transfer portal and the moves that Iowa State has made. We've brought in 2 wide receivers now, Xavier Townsend and Chase Sowell, UCF and East Carolina, respectively, and then 2 defensive players as well. 9 exits. That's not what we're talking about today, though. We are talking about Chase Sowell, East Carolina, 6'4" wide receiver, and played for Dion before he cleaned house. And what does Chase Sowell look for when he is entering the portal? When he's evaluating his next potential landing spot in this crazy chaos that is the transfer portal, the college football landscape? Well, he said somebody that can develop and elevate my game. That makes sense. I would say you probably want to get better at the thing that you're kind of doing, right? Like I think a lot of these players are hoping to go pro. So it's kind of like your job at this point, almost sort of like, hey, this is what I want to do. Let's get really good at this. Kind of like me behind the microphone, right? Want to get pretty good at this so we can get paid to do it. That'd be pretty cool. And so, obviously, Iowa State on his list. There were 4 other schools that were on his list that he had visits scheduled to go see. None of those went through. All of those visits were canceled after he came to Iowa State and was like, you know what? I'm putting my flag down here. I'm putting my foot down. This is where I'm going. And best decision you'll ever make, Chase. Got to be completely honest, first off. But secondly, I want to take a look at these teams, that he had scheduled visits with. Arizona State University, Big 12 champion this year. Virginia Tech, one of the sickest walkouts in college football. Florida, the swamp, of course. And then SMU, the ACC runner-up. And then obviously, Iowa State, Big 12 runner-up. So pretty historic, legendary programs here on this list. What would make him choose Iowa State, though? Like what specifically? Obviously, we know he wants to develop and to elevate his game. And he also says he wants to get more targets and get the ball in his hands in different ways. I'll break that quote down in a minute. Don't get ahead of yourself there. But he says, hey, I see myself in his game, talking about Jaden Higgins. The way they use him and the versatility is very intriguing to him. So he's already kind of like, hey, they got a guy that's kind of like me. He's on his way out. What if I just come in, take that, bang, bang, pow, all of a sudden we're off to the races. If you're a fan of Jaden Higgins' game, which I imagine if you're listening to this show, you probably are, you might enjoy Chase Sowell. Apparently, same wavelength here, right? And also, key to note, when you look at things as a macro level here, Jaden Higgins came in from East Kentucky, not East Carolina, which is where Chase Sowell is coming from, but East Kentucky with 2 years left of eligibility. So almost the same situation that we're looking at here. Different schools, yes, but East something coming in with 2 years of eligibility remaining. All I'm saying is we could be primed for another Jaden Higgins, but it's Chase Sowell, very different identity, different person, but still like could be looking at the same trajectory here, which would be pretty sweet as an Iowa State fan. And then he comes to visit and he sees, Higgins, Noel, Becht, amongst obviously coaches and other players. But these three, kind of the trio of offensive production this year outside of running backs, like wide receiver, quarterback. Big. That's going to be big for him to meet with, obviously. And he kind of asked him, like, what's this all about? So they told him, how does this operate? How do we do things here? They said the coaches do a great job of caring for us as people, which was a key thing for Chase Sowell. Makes sense. He wanted to be looked at as a person before he was looked at as a number. Wow. Awesome. First off, awesome. And also, since that's kind of like what, Noel, Becht, and Higgins said, like the coaches do a great job of caring for us as people, right? People. These are people that play football. These are the people that we talk about every day here at Locked On, all across the network. We're talking about human beings that play these games. Sometimes it can get easy to get caught up in the numbers, in the jerseys, and the fact that they're players, but these are humans. And Chase Sowell, I think very validly wants to be treated as a person, as a human. And that's what everybody of, that was on the visit, Higgins, Nolan, Becht, were like, hey, they do that here. They take care of you as a real human person, a live being. And to me, that just speaks wonders to the culture that this program has built. I talked about it when we covered Matt Campbell getting his extension. Like, I love that because the culture here now is it's rock solid. Rock solid. To go back a little bit to our first segment, when Bo Freeler was asked, he said, like, hey, I think everybody here knows the standard. The standard is the standard type of deal. It's not what he said, but that's just what came to my mind. Like, everybody knows how to act, in the meetings, at practice, at training, in classes with tutors. And I guarantee, or I don't think he said I guarantee, but like, I am confident that moving forward, they know how to act because they know how to act now. That's how this program is run. I love that. This team and the way that the coaching staff handles this team, it's done magnificently. It's done almost like elegantly. I love the way that it is run. And obviously Chase Sowell does as well because he will be joining us next year as an Iowa State Cyclone. I mean, that's awesome. It really is. It's one of those that like makes you just smile. Really, it just brings you a little bit of joy. That is for sure. But before we can get to next year with Chase Sowell joining the Cyclones, we have to get to the Pop-Tart Bowl. That comes first. That will be December 28th. And obviously, we got to cover that. So that'll be coming up right after this. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. I'm looking at this Iowa State-Miami Pop-Tart Bowl game, and I see the line at 3.5, and who's it favoring? Okay, it's favoring Miami. That means you're giving Iowa State 3.5 points. I like that number. I like that number quite a bit. The FanDuel Sportsbook app, however, gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Also brought to you, bringing you the show today, is PrizePicks. PrizePicks is the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, PrizePicks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 1,000 times your cash. Run your game all season long on PrizePicks, America's #1 daily fantasy sports app. Make your holidays bigger and brighter with PrizePicks, the best place to get real money action while watching your favorite sports. Join now because this holiday season, PrizePicks is giving away 2 free picks in December. They're giving away $30+ million in rewards during Picksmas. Think James Cook will get more than 60 yards next week. Joe Burrow to pass for more than 1.5 touchdowns. Cook up hot takes with your friends and win real money this football season when you and your crew run your game on PrizePicks. Do you think, I'm looking at this football slate, Jared Goff, more on his passing yards, Saquon Barkley, more on his projected touchdowns. I like that. Okay. 2 players there. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONCollege to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONCollege to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game. Pop-Tart Bowl coming right up, coming right down the pipe. Final game of Iowa State's football season. Going to be electric, going to be a lot of fun. Nobody's sitting out, which is awesome. And we're going to dive into it and break it all down. My initial thoughts on the game as it currently stands at this moment here at Locked On Cyclones, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Nick Marvitz at Nick Marv. We got a good game on our hands here, ladies and gentlemen. Folks, when the time comes, you're going to want to grab a comfy seat. You're going to want to grab a bucket of popcorn, maybe a hot dog too, get you through the game. You don't have to get up. Maybe figure out the bathroom situation and line that with like halftime, something along those lines, because you are not going to want to miss a moment of this game. I can tell you that right now. Iowa State currently 3.5-point dogs to Miami in this game. And as I mentioned earlier, Miami #1 scoring and total offense on the year. Let's just get it out of the way. What do I think will happen? I think Iowa State will win this game by about 1 million points. I really do. I guess as an actual score prediction, 10 days out, I could maybe see, a 21-35 game. I don't want to get crazy with like weird numbers. Let's just pick a basic 3 to 5, touchdown score game. And why, the question you might ask? Well, for one thing, Iowa State defense, especially pass defense, primo. Very good. Very, very good. Okay, we know that. Granted, the Big 12 championship game did not go quite exactly to plan, but Rocco was like, hey, that wasn't us. To call back to the first segment, we got to be better prepared. We got to be better mentally wise, and we got to have better precision to detail. Okay, well, if we do those things, we are really good at football. We got 10 wins this year. We're really good. Okay. So yes, I think our defense matches up with their offense quite well. Important to note that they do have everybody playing. So do we, and so it's gonna be a good Miami team. I'm not saying that we're playing some bums here. Miami is a very good team. And there was a while there where people thought they might even snag the 1 seed in the college football playoff. Then things went downhill a little bit. And that's exactly the right time for me to mention. I looked at their schedule, and Iowa State might be the toughest game they've played all year, realistically. They have 2 losses, Georgia Tech in there, and then Syracuse was their only ranked opponent all year. And they lost to both. Georgia Tech wasn't ranked, and they lost to both of those teams. Does rankings really matter? I don't know. I haven't looked at it because it's not really there, but like, what if they lose to a 26th ranked team? How is that different from losing to a 23rd or a 25th or a 27th? Like in that gray area that, around the bottom of the top 25, a top 3 to 5 team. Yes, those teams are very, very good at football, but is losing to a top 25 team that's 23rd different than losing to a top 27 team that's 27th? I don't know the answer to that. I also don't know, because I have, like I said, first initial look, haven't seen, where were those other teams at, and I don't even know where I'd find like 25 through 50. Either way, bottom line is I don't think Miami has played a tougher opponent than Iowa State this year. I just don't. I think that they maybe would have had a tougher schedule if the teams they faced this year were good, like the teams of last year, like FSU, pretty good last year. Things didn't go their way this year. So that's not really a quality win, which is, I'm getting into the quality win stuff, and I don't even know what that really means. Okay, I'm starting to sound like the committee here. But what I'm saying is I really, really like Iowa State's chances. There is one thing, though, it's kind of standing out to me. Slight amount of concern here. Matt Campbell, obviously, I've talked about some of the media that went on this week, was asked hey, what are some of the young shining stars that are standing out to you in practice? And his answer was, it made my alarms go off a little bit. Few red flags kind of went up. He said, well, I'm going to be completely honest. We are this is not a quote. We are just so decimated with injuries. We haven't really gotten a good opportunity to kind of evaluate that. So come back to me next week. Hopefully we get some guys back and we get some better practices under our belt. And I can give you a better answer. That's not a great sign. Obviously, the time off is going to be huge for this team. It's going to give guys, that rest, the ability to recover from the minor injuries, which does go both ways. And Miami I think they have an extra week even off because they didn't play in the ACC championship game. So they've had even more time off. And then you get into rust versus rest, that whole argument, which is we got plenty of days to talk about this game. Don't worry. I'm not trying to get too crazy here. But the comment from Campbell of hey, we are pretty injury. We got the injury deal going pretty strong right now. Doesn't really make me super, super confident. But just looking at the numbers, looking at who Miami has played, who Iowa State has played, and their performances in those games, my initial lean is like this. And if you're not watching, I will give you a visual, kind of word of what happens here. This is Iowa State. This is Miami. I'm way over here. Okay. Heavy lean to the Iowa State side. I like I said, 3 to 5 touchdown. I'll get a little bit more in depth on how the number, because it's never 21-35. We all know this. Maybe there's a field goal in there or 2 field goals, so you're a point short of a touchdown. But either way, I like Iowa State against Miami, and in more ways than one. Let's just put it that way. That is for sure. That's going to do it for today, folks. Until next time, thank you for making this your first listen every single day or watch. Be sure to subscribe wherever you're watching or listening so we can prove once and for all that it is, in fact, a Cyclone state. Until next time, Cyclone fans, sayonara.